Greetings and salutations, everyone, and welcome to the Dirt Sheet Radio NXT post-show rewind for April the 23rd, 2024. It is NXT Spring Break-In Night 1. I am Tyler, the pro wrestling hipster. CJ, go ahead and introduce yourself to these fine folks watching at home, and let's hop right into tonight's main event.
CJ Carter, as always, at CJ Carter 22. New NXT champion and Trick Williams. Hell yeah, I'm here for it.
Yep, fantastic. It's tonight's main event, the NXT Championship Match between Trick Williams and the Mad Dragon, Ilja Dragunov. And as expected, Trick Williams picks up the win here and secures his place as NXT Champion. CJ, what did you think of tonight's main event?
I thought it was exactly what we anticipated it was going to be. Just a really solid showing between Dragunov and the new NXT champion. I did think it was a little bit weird, the point in the match where Trick started hitting Ilja's moves on Ilja. It was a little out of character for him, I think. We've always, the Trick Williams that we've always seen and presented alongside is more respect than that, so it did feel a little weird. Let's go Trick. And even though it was predictable, nothing wrong with predictable as long as they are telling a good story. And in that sense, I still feel like Stand and Deliver was the better chance for Trick Williams to win the title. It nothing against Spring Breakin' and the these themed episodes of NXT, but that was the biggest show of the year.
Right.
And if you wanted to really push this new angle for D'Angelo, then that's okay, but that feels like a post Stand and Deliver level of story, especially since they didn't really do anything with it. They ended up going right into this feud with the No Quarter Catch crew.
Right.
So it feels like they really missed that opportunity to give Trick the biggest stage. And I'm sure he will still be on the roster come next year, Stand and Deliver. So he'll get that opportunity. But I mean, that crowd would have been so hot in Philly. And it sucks that it got reduced to the size of the Performance Center.
Well, I mean, that being said, the benefit to him getting the championship win at the PC, I think, is more of a thank you to the audience that's at the PC week in and week out. Trick Williams is now the face of NXT. He's going to be the face of NXT, for the foreseeable future. And I feel like it was kind of a thank you to the Florida crowd to have that title change take place there. That's the only reason I can think of that they would have had it take place tonight as opposed to at Stand and Deliver. And touching on what you said about predictability, I agree. Predictability is perfectly fine as long as it's a good story and it makes logical sense. I said that a few times over the past couple weeks. Said it about Cody at Mania. Said it about Jungle Jack making his way back over the weekend in AEW. It is predictable. But it's fine being predictable when it makes sense and it's a plausible, logical story. And that's what we had here tonight. And I loved the big fight feel they gave it, interviewing, past and current NXT stars all night long, having them in the crowd tonight. It was great. It was something that, elevated the feel of the match. And again, it was important that they did that because it was taking place at the PC as opposed to, a large travel crowd like at Stand and Deliver. But great match. I will say, I thought the Stand and Deliver match was the better match between the two.
Really?
Yeah, I liked the pacing of it better, and maybe that's because we touched on this in our little pre-production discussion, but I expected this to have more time than it got.
Mm-hmm. Definitely the 6 to 7. What is you usually have the times for these matches?
Right under 12 minutes. I have it around 11:55.
Okay. Which, yeah, it feels like, and I'm not talking like a quarter of the show or anything, but I mean, at least 20. You
Mhm.
know, like
Mhm.
feels like, especially with the culmination of this Trick Williams story and the importance of the stakes of the match, you know, like if he loses, he's gone. So, which I thought would be a really fun opportunity to like put him on Raw or SmackDown during the draft on Friday, and then on Monday draft him back down to NXT.
Right, exactly. Yeah, yeah. uh, but no, I dug it. I liked all of the post and pre-match stuff they did. I liked the stare down between Damian Priest and Dragunov backstage before the match took place, which I think, there's been a little bit of discussion about Dragunov being called up and drafted to Raw and being part of Imperium, which that would just tip the hat in that direction.
Well, but in a case of Ilja versus Gunther, like those are two very leader type personalities. I feel like if they go and make Ilja Dragunov subservient to Gunther, he loses so much of his not credibility, but something along those lines.
Some of his mystique would vanish with that, but I don't think they would go with a subservience. I think it would be an expected subservience from Gunther, but Ilja wouldn't fall into that role, and it would be a pretty swift conflict. Because I wouldn't see them really wanting Ilja to be a heel on the main roster. I think he's a pretty natural face. He's just that gruff, badass face. I don't want to say anti-hero. I think that gets thrown around an awful lot, possibly too much. But no, I think that he could function very well on the main roster, and it was a good tease, and I liked that.
Oh, absolutely. Even just they did well, and the same thing they did with Ilja and Obafemi. It's just like, yeah, putting them in the same room together just lights that fire for something that I really want to see. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's going to happen for Dragunov and Obafemi, but at least we'll get Dragunov versus Priest maybe somewhere down the line.
Yeah, I think. I mean, they certainly teased it tonight. Absolutely. But CJ, anything else on the main event tonight, or shall we hop around to the front of the program?
I did, since we were showing that the move through the announce table, I did want to mention that I did initially kind of think the NXT alumni coming to ringside to watch the match was a little hokey, but then seeing the Creeds go absolutely insane while they were fighting down at that end, like they got so into it, and it was really amazing to see. Like I love seeing that passion, whether it's from the audience or the talent, but it hits different when it's the talent having that much fun.
Well, and again, in about 3 minutes of television time, the Creed brothers showed more personality and charisma, being in the audience at NXT than they're allowed to show on Monday Night Raw. So, let's do better with
well, hey,
the main roster.
I think with okay, so do you think they're going to wind up aligning with Chad Gable?
Yeah, I do. They were training with him in that video, so I do think that they're going to be aligned with him. Probably take the place of Alpha Academy. I mean, the fracture's already started. I mean, Tozawa had like the saddest tweet of all time last night, just talking about how he's worthless and sorry. I was just like, oh my god, I feel so bad for Tozawa now. Like that's nasty, sir. That tweet is what's nasty.
And I don't want to take too much time away from NXT to talk about Raw, but that whole segment in general felt like more of a slow burn. Like, I thought that segment was going to end with the Alpha Academy being dismissed, and he introduces the Creeds right away. Now it feels like it's more of a slow build, like a more natural thing, as opposed to just like, oh yeah, I'm with these guys now. So I'm on board for that too.
Yeah, absolutely. But we'll go ahead and hop around to the front of the show. We started off with the the pedal all the way to the floor here. We began with the women's NXT Championship match. We had the prodigy, Roxanne Perez, because it's Tuesday night, Roxy, taking on Lyra, Valkyria, and Tatum Paxley in a triple threat match. And Tuesday night, Roxy picking up the win here in just about, again, 12 minutes. Yes, every time. We're going to get mileage out of this graphic because Roxanne Perez is not going anywhere. I thought there was a good chance that she was going to get called up, but I don't believe that's going to be happening now, which I'm perfectly fine with. They want her to continue to develop this heel persona and work on that side of her characterization. Fine with it. But great match. Good pacing, way to set the tone out the gate. It's fantastic. CJ, what'd you think of the opener tonight?
The only note that I had written for this match, holy fuck, what a match. Like, it was, like you said, pedal to the metal. One thing that I think is more of a defining trait of this new era is just the intensity. Like, we saw it in this match. We saw it in the family versus no quarter catch crew. It feels like everyone is working just a little bit stiffer, and I'm here for it. I love it. I think this match in particular was a phenomenal showcase for all three women. I'm still on the fence about Roxanne getting called up. Like, I think it's still could be like a daytime or day of decision whether she gets called up or not. But if she does stick around in NXT and develops this new character, I'm in for it. I did think they were going to put the title on Tatum Paxley at the end there. She had so much, like, she had such a great finish in this match, and I feel like they are at least going to set her up for something further down the road. That crowd was on fire at the finish of that match.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, that 450 was picture perfect from Paxley. Like, that was just gorgeous. And again, great finish to the match. Just that the jackknife pin off that, having Roxanne just skate by, retaining the title. It was great. And I think that all three women came out of the match stronger than they did going into it. And that's the name of the game with that. You want everyone to look good. You want the opponent to look good in defeat. And I think that we have definitely seen the fuse lit on Tatum Paxley tonight. We talked about a lot of women in NXT having big breakout years. And, we're a quarter of the way through the year here, but I think that Tatum's going to be burning it up for the rest of the calendar year.
And nuts to Dave Meltzer.
Exactly. The character's fun, okay?
Biggest FU, like the biggest middle finger to Dave Meltzer is the fact that they started the night with like Tatum Paxley looking phenomenal, and then Trick Williams winning the NXT title is how it ended. Like it was like two bookmark middle fingers right to Dave Meltzer.
Yeah, so suffice to say, Mr. Meltzer will probably not be rating this show 5 stars. But hey, boost to him because it was phenomenal. But yeah, I say this so many times. I like the character. I think it's spooky in a believable way. The line I usually draw is when they have magical powers, and so far she's not exhibiting any of that. So I'm cool.
Don't even put it out into the universe. Just
Sean likes magic.
Don't even think it.
He likes it.
Sean can work with magic though. Like I'm fine with that magic.
Right. but I thought it was great. As always, excited to see what they've got going forward with the NXT Women's Division. I'm really excited to get that North American title added into the mix because, boy, howdy, they need it. And again, y'all know I'm not someone who is a fan of adding titles typically, but good Lord, they need it. They have the roster to support it. And honestly, like I kind of wish they just give them back their damn tag titles.
I mean, Adam Pearce even said in that opening general manager whatever that was, that NXT has the strongest women's roster right now. So that is just further acknowledgement, one, that NXT bigwigs watch our content and now are quoting us ad nauseum, but two, that it really sets the stage for mid-card titles on Raw and SmackDown too. Like, if we get a good graduating class of NXT talent going to Raw and SmackDown, I think we could see enough roster depth that we see a women's Intercontinental title, a women's US title, or whatever they want to call them. And yeah, I do think they should reinstate the NXT women's tag titles. They had these locker room segments, by the way, just ridiculous. But I mean,
bottom high, bottom high.
Just a way to get as many faces on TV each week as possible. But that's what I mean. Like, you see how full these locker rooms are. And there's no reason why they couldn't do the same thing on Raw and SmackDown as long as they're giving it its due time. So if the NXT North American title, women's North American title is going to get time, and the women's tag titles are going to get time, then yes, bring them back because the roster deserves it. Mm-hmm. But how do we see that happening on the main roster?
I don't even know, because it's not like they were carrying around two sets of straps like with the men's tag titles, and you can just figure out a way to split them back out. It would probably just be a matter of Ava, just coming at me like, look, this was a decision that was made without me. I'm unilaterally deciding to bring back the women's tag team titles. Bibbity bobbity boop. My dad's on the TKO board, so I can do whatever I want.
Take it up with him.
That's it. Yeah. If you've got a problem, take it up with a Maui. All right. That's where you need to send your anger letters to. But no.
Thanks, Dad. You're welcome.
Boom. Exactly. But we'll hop back into the show talking about the backstage segments in the women's locker room, which I will say too, I like, because it doesn't just give a lot of folks the opportunity to literally get their face on TV, but it gives them a chance to work on the non-verbal expressions and acting skills that I think are very, very important to a successful professional wrestler. So I think that that's also a good thing to have. But we did have one of those backstage segments. We had Fallon Henley hanging out back there with Kalani Jordan, talking to Thea Hale, and boom, approached by Jada Parker, setting up for a match that they would have a little bit later in the evening. But yeah, again, like we just talked about it, but like these are good. I think they're well done. They can be a little bit over the top. Again, you take them bottom high, but that's it though. That's what it is. This is the environment and kind of the I don't know, the general air of NXT. It does feel a little high schoolish. That's got to be by design, because it kind of is, especially too, if you look at the number of relationships that come out, like legitimately come out of NXT. My God, It is a high school.
And I mean, like, the one thing that I don't really like about these segments is the fact that it feels like it is just an attempt to get as many faces on TV as possible. Like, if anyone's like, oh, I didn't have a match this week. Well, yeah, but you got on TV. Like, you're in the backstage segment or the locker room segment. Well, yeah, but I mean, all I did was emote, like I get that's not what people want to do when they sign up for wrestling school. But like you said, it is an important thing to have, just to be able to display appropriate reactions that make sense. So, I mean, it's good and it's bad. I take it as they are, but
right.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Take each one as it comes. I have my notes got a little mixed up here. Was it after this segment that they had the promo spot for Tyson DuPont and Tyrick?
That was later in the show.
That was later. Okay. I don't know why I had that written here for some reason, but
I think that was after the That might have been after
Oh no, it was before.
Parker and Henley's match.
It was before the. It was before the family match.
Was it?
I just double checked. I cross referenced. Yeah, it was.
Okay, I thought it was later in the show.
It was a quick vignette, but it will be. I think they said in action next week. Is what they said.
I don't think they said. They might have said, but I didn't catch both of their names. But it looked like they had been NXT Level Up graduates. So, have you seen anything from them before?
Tyson DuPont's name popped out to me. I'm going to be completely honest. Part of that might be because I grew up near a chemical plant that was named DuPont.
Yeah.
But and I didn't catch it was a quick promo, and it wasn't a very eye-catching promo either. So hopefully they can do something to get a little more and do something to set themselves apart a little bit, because that was part of the issue. I didn't realize it was a vignette until it was probably about 2/3 through it.
Well, you thought it was just like a regular commercial for something on USA?
Yeah, I was so amped for tonight's show being spring break in night one. I actually was a little bit thrown by commercials, because I kind of, in the back of my head, I was kind of primed, PLE, but Tyrek, but I didn't get the last name. But Tyson DuPont and Tyrek, and I do apologize, sir, for not getting your last name, but we'll see you guys soon on NXT.
Mm-hmm. But I think I'll just have to wait and see how they do. Like they look like good enough athletes from the footage of their matches that got shown. So with any luck, it'll show well on live TV next week.
Right, absolutely. But hey, that'll take us into our next match, 6-man tag exhibition. We have the family taking on the No Quarter Catch crew. The conflict being that the No Quarter Catch crew did not pay the family for killing Drew Gulak. Is that
taking care of a problem?
Yeah.
That's the verbiage that we're going to use, because I mean, who even is Drew Gulak? What are you talking about?
I don't even know what you're talking about. I've never even heard that name before.
The No Quarter Catch crew's only had 3 guys in it ever.
Right? Yeah. I don't even know, really.
I'm pretty sure it's the 2K tutorial guy is like Tyler Breeze, right? How deep down this rabbit hole do we want to go?
Oh man, deep cuts tonight on the NXT Rewind. We had the family taking on the No Quarter Catch crew. Family, surprisingly, in my opinion, picks up the win here in 11 minutes and 5 seconds. Although it was good to get them a win, show them as a solidified unit again, coming off of Tony's loss to Ilja not too long ago. But in a way, I almost wonder if the entirety of the No Quarter Catch crew is being punished for what happened with Drew, because it feels kind of odd to have them get beat like that, and to specifically have Tony pin Charlie Dempsey.
Right, but that's, I think, just because they want to set D'Angelo up as a Heritage Cup contender.
Yes.
So I don't see much. I don't think it's being a punishment that I'm more so just surprised. I'm still surprised that the family went over, but only because they'd been kind of, that dissension in the ranks a little bit. I thought they'd be, heading for a breakup. If it was like Tony going up to Raw or SmackDown on his own, keep the family down here kind of thing. But hey, if they're a unified front and if they're keeping Tony in NXT, then we may even see him challenging for the Heritage Cup as early as next week.
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely the match is somewhere in the future. They'll probably force him through the No Quarter Catch crew before letting him get to Dempsey. Now, and they did refer to Dempsey as the Heritage Cup champion tonight when he was pinned. Do you think they're going to start to lean away from the catch clause?
No, because even the lower third, when they made their entrance, said NXT Heritage Cup champions, no
Oh,
quarter
okay.
catch crew. So I think they are still.
Freebird, yeah.
It's such a good gimmick. Like, it's such a good bit for them to have, just giving whoever out of the three of them versus whoever's challenging. Like, having that element of surprise is genuine. I mean, because we, even on previous Heritage Cup matches on NXT that I've reviewed, I thought, that it was going to be one person, but it's another. So already, it that surprise really works well for them. So I hope they keep it. But this was another example of kind of like what I was talking about earlier. It's another hard-hitting match. Like, it feels like the intensity just got turned up to 10 on NXT, which I am all for and hope that it continues, especially with the NXT Underground match next week.
Yes, absolutely. Really looking forward to that one. I think that's going to be a real bright spot of next week's show. But yeah, it was a very hard-hitting match. Very, very tight, a lot stiffer. God, Dempsey looks so much like his dad. Like, he's just built so similarly to him. It is just uncanny, which, I mean, obviously it makes sense, but like, he moves like it. Like, and it's pretty fantastic. And speaking on the catch clause, I think you're right. I think it probably is something they're going to keep. If Shawn Michaels is one thing, it's someone that was a fan of World Classic Championship Wrestling, and that was Freebird territory, and it's the Freebird rule. That's what it is. The catch clause is the Freebird rule.
Yeah.
It's basically the same thing. You're just applying it to a singles aspect here as opposed to a tag, but they have applied that rule to tag as well when you don't know which two members you're facing in the tag. So I'm sure Shawn loves that. It does work very well for them, especially with their own, like, the concept of their team, just constantly fighting, constantly training. It's good. It works.
Mm-hmm.
But we had a backstage segment with Baron Corbin being interviewed and approached by Lexis King, who is bringing him some a go-away gift basket, which, man, that's a first. With his merch in it. It was just setting up for their match that they would have later tonight. Steve, what'd you think of the backstage segment?
I got a kick out of Corbin saying, "No way that beard is real." Like, it was a good character moment for both guys, and even coming off Lexis King's feud with Von Wagner, like, I felt going into this match like I was more invested in Corbin than I was in Lexis King, which kind of scared me a little, to be honest with you. But it's because I hope that Lexis King is able to gain some traction in NXT that's actually meaningful. But unfortunately, Obafemi's going to have a lock on the NXT North American title for as long as he wants to, essentially. And Trick is so hot with the NXT title right now, I don't see him losing that for quite some time either. So unless they go ahead with what they were kind of teasing with Corbin and King actually forming a tag team, I don't know that I want to see that again, though. Like, he just came off the Odd Couple team with Braun Breaker, so I'd like to see something different.
Yeah, you don't want to go back to that that quickly. It's going to feel just so derivative of what was a genuinely fun angle with Corbin and Breaker. So yeah, I don't know what they're going to do with with Baron going forward. But I look forward to it, which is something that's wild to me to say out loud. But I look forward to seeing what they're going to do with Baron Corbin going forward.
That statement gives me a stomachache. Like,
yeah, right.
It just feels wrong.
It tastes weird coming out of my mouth. But so up next we had Jada Parker with OTM taking on Fallon Henley, and good match. But I'm gonna complain here a little bit. And CJ, I know that, like, this is, I feel like, a first world problem, as you up in the Great White North, you don't even have access to the commercial picture-in-picture matches. But the match started during the commercial break in the picture-in-picture. I love the picture-in-picture. I'm so grateful for it. I appreciate it. WWE, thank you. I hope this is something that you expand with the shows in the future, because it's stupid that you would go to a commercial break during a match anyway. It's dumb. But I love it and I appreciate it. But starting a match during the commercial break is not a great look. Just do better. I don't want excuses. I just want change, damn it. So I appreciate it. And it was worse for CJ having to come back and the match is just going on.
Like, I hear Vic on commentary say something to the effect of, this match will get underway, don't miss a second of it, and then it cuts to commercial. I don't get picture-in-picture on Sportsnet Plus, which, by the way, since I'm going to rant about Sportsnet Plus, like, halfway through the main event, it kicks me out of my account and tells me to log in. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Like, I was already watching the program. I had switched from my I would usually watch it on my tablet, and then once the main event starts, I switch over to my laptop just to make it easier for streaming. And I was already watching for like 10 minutes, and then it just cuts, and then it just kicks me out, and I'm like, stop that.
Now, that's interesting, because obviously I'm watching on a different service. I do see it through USA, through Sling is my streaming cable provider here. But about halfway through the main event, I had the sound drop out completely, and I had to pop out of the channel and go back in to get the sound effects. So that's interesting. So I wonder if something did happen and it just kind of presented itself.
So the problem was in Orlando, and then it just rippled through the cable providers.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. I found that interesting that we had problems at roughly the same time, just different different issues. But
we need to hear from people in like other countries as well. It's like halfway through the main event, did you run into any weird hang-ups if you were streaming?
Ziggy, go over there. Sorry. Moving one of the cats. But rant aside, grateful for
good match.
Yeah, but good match. Quick, Jada picks up the win here in 4 minutes and 38 seconds. Just continuing her momentum and her build. Was
that 4 minutes and 38 seconds before or after the commercial break?
That was starting bell to bell. Yeah, okay. Jada lost her hair. Jada lost her hair in the match. Doesn't need it.
She ripped it off during right after the bell rang.
Yeah, like fantastic. Like, she again, as I say about Fallon Henley, I say of Jada Parker, every week looks better. Mm-hmm. Like it's just I feel like people are just going to say this. I can hear them now in the comments and everything. Just like, well, oh my God, Tyler's just NXT Women's Wrestling mark, but my God, they're all so talented. And that's the thing I say about every one of the women. They're all going to have breakout years. Like, it's just the NXT Women's roster is having a breakout year. That's it. It's all of them collectively as a unit.
They just decided this was going to be the year of the NXT Women's roster, and they stuck with it. So if this match was for the NXT Women's North American Championship, would you be happy with the result?
Yeah, I would. My only complaint, and this is in no way the fault of Jada. I find her character alignment to be a little bit ill-defined. And that's not really her fault. She's heel, obviously. She's heel aligned. She's wrestling heel, but she's not really getting a heel reaction. And right now she is OTM. She is OTM right now. Kind of in a way how Rhea for a long time was Judgment Day. She is OTM. Like, they need her right now. And even look at that picture. That shot says it all. She's at the forefront. They're all literally behind her. They're the heavies. They're the muscle. Like, I guess.
Well, and to be fair, that was her match, so it makes sense.
Right, but even still, though, when they're in segments together, she steals every scene that they share.
True.
But that's my only thing with her. I feel that her character is a little ill-defined, but that's more based off of the crowd reaction. Rhea was running into the same shit. So this isn't, an exclusive problem that folks have run into. It's just she's organically picking up a lot of steam. People like badasses. You know, people like winners. You like to see someone that can go in there and win. It's like, yeah, she's cocky, but you know, she's obviously backing it up. Where does this put Fallon?
I don't think this leaves her in a bad place. Like, I think she's still gonna find a way to get some genuine momentum for herself. Like, she had a lot of good steam heading into the Iron Survivor match, and even now I think she has momentum on her side. She just needs to find something kind of like Lexis King, something that is going to provide that vehicle for genuine momentum and something that the fans can actually get behind. It has to be genuine, though. Like, it can't just be kind of like how Chad Gable berating American Alpha or Alpha Academy. I keep calling them American Alpha, even though I'm like, no, that was so much better. But no, like, it has to feel genuine. It has to feel natural. So as long as Fallon finds something that is going to work well for her, then I'm all for it.
Yeah. But let's see here. Oh, there. Thank you. As we cut to a backstage segment there, we had JC Jane just running down Thea Hale, continuing their feud and their angle, which again, fine with. Man, she just won't leave Thea alone, just continuing to torment the poor girl. It's like you already tried to take everything from her, but it didn't work. Maybe that's why. Maybe she's frustrated. She keeps trying to just ruin everything for Thea Hale, but everything keeps working out for Thea.
Well, and so I'm going to ask you the same question back about JC Jane, because it feels like they're pointing towards this being a big moment for Thea Hale, the match next week at night 2. So where does JC Jane land coming out of this if she loses?
I don't know.
Because, I mean, Jasmine Nix hasn't really... Nothing against Jasmine Nix, but, I mean, like, she hasn't added anything of value to the feud for me. Like, the story has always been... yes, she was her friendship was kind of the catalyst for Thea feeling dejected and ignored, but other than that, like, she just hasn't contributed to the feud further than that.
No, and that's why I think, like, you know, if, you know, JC loses, I don't think she's main roster bound yet. I don't see a place for her up there. And I think that she is going to be used to kind of help move Nix along. But I don't really, I don't know. Like, I think they need to finish the conflict with Thea Hale, and then they can figure out what they want to do with both of them. Going
you almost said
themselves.
Finish the story, didn't you?
I'm trying to make a concerted effort to not use the words "finish the story" for a while, because we just said it so many times over a 6-month period. But I mean, it's often just the best way to put it, because that's what it is. It's stories. It's professional wrestling. That's what we're talking about, is storytelling. But we'll see what they do with her. I don't really know where she lands right now. Again, if there was a NXT Women's Tag Team Championship
that her and Jasmine Nix could go after and pretend that there's a partnership that just grew organically there.
Right, exactly. Sometimes, you know, you got to fake it till you make it, right? That's what they say, you know. So, you know, sometimes really weird pairings that I don't feel that are working at first end up working out. I was not pro Chelsea Green and Piper Niven when they first paired them together, and I think that they work well as a team. So, you know, sometimes, you know, just it takes a little time. I felt that way about Nix and Hale, about JC Jane and Thea Hale when they first started doing that angle, and it was fun within a few weeks. So I don't know. I try to, you know, anymore. I try to give them at least, you know, a 3-week grace period to really decide on things.
Well, that's fair. especially with the long-term booking strategy that they've developed over the years.
Exactly. But had a backstage interview, Kelly Kincaid talking with JD McDonough. Again, like I said, throughout the night, they were hyping up the main event with present and past NXT and main roster wrestlers. McDonough didn't get much of a reaction from what I heard there from the crowd, which is unfortunate, really, because he's a lot better than the reactions he gets.
Oh, yeah. But, I mean, at the same time, he's never been a strong promo. Like, his delivery always feels very monotonous. Mm-hmm. Like, he just only has the one tone, no matter what he's talking about. So, for him to talk about his feud with Ilja just fell flat for me, and I was not even in the arena.
Right.
Imagine
which is unfortunate, but yeah, so JD McDonough was one of those guys that I thought could possibly end up back down at NXT in a post-draft world, but don't know if that would really work for him there. Yeah, unfortunately, Von Wagner got released, so we're never going to find out.
Well, my new headcanon is that he got fired because he fought those kids. So that's it for me. He did fight the kids. We have our answer.
Yep, he just nailed like a bunch of 8-year-olds with lariats left and right, and that was it. Eventually the litigation has concluded. All of the footage was released. The families have been compensated by the city of Tampa. So it's done. He's out. Von Wagner, we're sorry, man. We're sorry. But,
and I know we shared the post earlier on Dirt Sheet Radio socials that Robert Stone was working producer for tonight. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad that he's doing something and he's not on the chopping block.
Yeah. And I'll be interested to see, too, what segments he had a hand in production-wise this evening.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of segments, big segments at that, we had at the start of the second hour, the contract signing for the NXT Underground match between Lola Vice and Natty Neidhart. I thought this was a really well done segment. I loved that they took the time to take the ropes and the ring post down, brought the roster around the ring, banging the hands. It was good. It really set apart that even the contract signing was going to have a different feel. Because, again, these underground matches, probably Shane McMahon's greatest contribution to professional wrestling. My God, it took him 40 years, but he finally had a good idea and got something over, God damn it. It took him a long time. Something
and it
other
wasn't
than
even... It didn't even get over because of his input. It was all in someone else's hands.
Exactly. Hi, Ziggy.
But I was glad to see Shayna Baszler getting involved. Like, just with the background of the competitors was enough to sell me on this match. But getting Shayna Baszler involved as the corner person for Lola Vice, my God, like they are just... It feels like they are on the best possible track as far as their superstar presentation. Like the reaction for Shayna Baszler was insane because she means something to NXT. Mm-hmm. So it's good that they are able to treat the NXT alumni with such high regard.
Absolutely. And she got a hell of a pop when she made her surprise return tonight. And that's great. Like, you love to see that. And I like that it's part of her character is almost becoming, oh, is there a fight somewhere? Cool, I'm going to show up. I'll be there. Shayna Baszler, like, she's sorry, KO, she's the prize fighter at this point. She's going to show up where there's going to be...
You're going to wear Kevin Owens' shirt and say that?
I know. By the way, my NXT original Kevin Owens shirt.
The only NXT original shirt that I have is not, well, technically original, but the only NXT shirt that I have is Samoa Joe's. and that one definitely doesn't fit like it used to.
Yeah, this is it's I have of all the wrestling shirts I have, or at least for wrestlers in particular, I probably have more Kevin Owens / Kevin Steen merchandise than any other wrestler. I mean, I was such an ROH guy there when Kevin was there. I bought a lot of his stuff on Superstar. Was it Pro Wrestling Tees was what it was. But Class of NXT 350, good times. Yes, it was. But yeah, the contract signing was great. Of course, it devolved into a brawl, as these things do. It's a contract signing, and it's professional wrestling. You don't have one of these without that brawl. But yeah, really looking forward to that match next week. And again, it's not just the first time that two women have met in an underground match. It is also the first underground match at NXT, correct?
No, because they've had underground matches. Like
they did. They did the one with
Dijak and Eddie Thorpe.
I was gonna say was that the last time we saw Eddie Thorpe
and Damon Kemp? What's that?
Was that the last time we saw Eddie Thorpe? Was that Dijak match? I completely forgot about that.
No, because they tried sticking him with Trey Bearhill.
Oh my God! And that's not been on TV since then. Okay. There we go. Thank you. Yeah, because that was a terrible idea, and I hope that they thought better of that.
But we haven't seen Eddie Thorpe since, so maybe they haven't come to their senses yet.
No, they're waiting on Tatanka to have time freed up,
so
he can manage them. If that happens, I'm gonna flip out. Like, it's gonna be
bad. Nothing against Tatanka, but God no. Like, don't do it. Just don't do it. Don't
do it, Sean.
No,
don't do it.
Don't do it. But you've got so much good faith right now. Just don't kill it. Don't do it, man. It's not worth it.
But moving from hypothetically bad ideas to actual bad ideas, we had Rich Holland interviewed outside the venue.
Oh man. This is the point where I actually had to look back at my notes like a few segments after and was like, okay, this is kind of where the show was gonna start going downhill. Like, I hope we get it back in time for the main event, but yeah, there was a few segments here in a row that I was like,
we had Rich Holland and Sean Spears, and again, that's about all I need to say about the segment. That was it. Like, it's Rich Holland. Oh, woe is me! I hurt people on accident. I'm Lenia from Mice and Men for a literature right tonight.
Him going after Joe Gacy and him still not lining up with Sean Spears, which I hope is just another slow burn, but it feels like they're just throwing shit at the wall. Not even so much that, it's just like they can't be bothered to aim at the wall. It just like falls to the floor.
I don't
know what they're doing with him, but I don't care. That's the thing. At the end of the day,
and I don't know how they're going to make me care about Rich Holland, honestly, or Sean Spears at this point. But I'm
still holding out hope for Sean Spears, mostly just because I was a big Ty Dillinger guy, and him. I enjoyed seeing him in AEW when I still watched it, but I just don't want Rich Holland to drag him down, which is unfortunately where we seem to be going.
The man is an albatross. But oh my God, CJ, this went from bad to worse for you. We went from a Rich Holland segment to a Final Testament vignette.
I swear to God, I almost threw my tablet. Like, I get AOP. I just don't get Karrion Kross. Like, I hope AOP wrecks shop. I hope that Nathan Fraser and Axiom get a good match. Even if they decide that AOP is the direction, okay, I can get on board with that. But Final Testament, my God, I can't. And even like the round table-ness of, oh, everybody's got to say their line during this promo. No, you have your talkers, and they're not AOP. And Scarlett got a write-off line and a small laugh, Paul Ellering, I don't know that I can say anything bad about Paul Ellering. My body may physically not let me. That man is a treasure. And he still sounds like Karrion Kross is trying to sound. That ominous sort of, yeah, I'm old, but I can still fuck you up kind of energy. And I just don't see that in Karrion Kross. And even his presentation has kind of changed since he's been in Final Testament. Like, long gone are the days of whatever mystical TikTok fucking whatever bullshit Karrion Kross was doing before. But I just can't get on board with it. It's just not interesting.
No, I agree. I have made my feelings on Karrion Kross known pretty well. I love this. The first time that, online, that I, as the pro wrestling hipster, was called a moron was by someone defending Karrion Kross of all fucking wrestlers. Like,
oh my God.
I've had some hot takes on wrestlers that I haven't been too big on over the years, and of all the ones that I've caught heat for, or thought that I would catch heat for not liking or getting behind, I would never have thought it would have been Karrion Kross. But yeah, no, I don't find him compelling. I think he comes across as hokey. Like, you talk about spooky characters, he's not good at it. He's not good at it. That's not who he is. Like, it really genuinely is not the person he actually is. And I don't know. It's bad. It doesn't work for him when he does it. Also, it's hard to really succeed in pro wrestling if you have such an aversion to bumping as he does.
Yeah. Like, that's the other thing that I thought WrestleMania 2. Like, he just doesn't it feels like he's not as into it as his opponents are, ever.
He's just not that into it. That's the problem. He loves wrestling. He's not in love with wrestling. That's the issue with Karrion Kross.
He loves the sport. He doesn't like doing it, I guess.
Right. Exactly. It's like he doesn't really know what else to do with his time. But, Scarlett likes it, so he keeps doing it. That's really what it comes down to. He's motivated.
Did you catch any of his time in Lucha Underground?
I didn't. When did he come into Lucha Underground? Because I think I only saw like the first season of Lucha Underground.
I haven't watched an episode. That's why I was asking. Like, I was hoping you'd be able to give an opinion on his career outside of WWE. I didn't see much of him when he was in TNA, just because the time that I was watching Impact just didn't line up. So I knew of him when he came to NXT, but all I knew was Killer Kross, and then I looked into he did his thing in Lucha Underground, but all I know is his time in NXT. Thanks, John. Appreciate that. That's the answer I was pretty much expecting.
Well, not everyone can shine as Ezekiel Jackson did in Lucha Underground. So,
okay, that's a name that I have not thought about in basically since he lost the Intercontinental Championship.
Ah, come on, man! He had a great entrance theme. It was hip hop bars over top of the old Brawl for All theme. Like, it was fantastic. This here's what they call domination. It was great. That's on my iPod. I heard it just a couple days ago. But
I'll have to go looking for it. I don't think I really paid attention back then.
It's a Jim Johnston classic. All right, which most of Jim Johnston's tracks were classics.
Yeah.
But back to NXT. We again, similar to the locker room segments that they do with the women's division, they did that with the men's tag division, which again illustrating how many teams they actually have down there, and showing that the Good Brothers are in fact still part of the NXT roster. Even making jokes about like, oh yeah, all these teams coming down here, Bigfoot their way, trying to get the NXT tag titles.
And the LWO was right there too. Like, what do you mean?
It was
all
a very
these teams?
self-aware joke. It was I dug it.
But that kind of highlighted a problem for me, anyways, with this talk of NXT becoming a true third brand. I don't know if it was Inoue or Blade that actually said something to the effect of, like, calling Raw and SmackDown the main roster shows. Like, it's that kind of verbiage that is really going to hamper if they decide to properly present NXT as a third brand.
Well, I think it was when we discussed it last week, I think John had said something along the lines of, kind of viewing it as college versus, pro. In that, like, it's like, well, it's like, yes, you understand that the college athlete is not as polished or at the same level as, his, NBA or NFL counterpart.
Mm-hmm.
But they're still very talented and they're worth watching and they're doing their own thing. So I think it being presented that way, it would, at least from a real sports perspective, would make sense. But again, we'll see what they do with that CW deal coming up in October. I think we're not that far away. We're like 6 months away from that. So
yeah. But I mean, that's the thing. Like, if they do want to present it as a third brand, like it feels like they're doing, especially with how much they've been including NXT in the hype for the draft. What, like, even the comparison to professional versus collegiate sports, like, how do you have that conversation when, like, and obviously this is going to still kind of depend on the results of the draft, but if we actually get as many main roster stars coming down to NXT as is predicted, how do you still have that conversation of professional versus collegiate when you have NFL players coming down to the college level?
Yeah, and that's obviously something that in a legitimate sport you don't have happen unless it's the premise of a film.
No.
Like, and that's the only way you see that happen. So I really don't know. I don't have a good answer. Like I said, like I could see it being pushed as a third brand from the perspective of like that college division. But you're right. They've made a push to have main roster stars on there. And again, they keep acting like NXT is going to actually be a player in the draft. And there you go. By the way,
Sidney Crosby isn't going to come down to a AHL game and throw on some skates. Like,
exactly.
This has to be all in or not. to quote AEW, it's either all in or all out.
Exactly. We'll see. We'll see if NXT is elite. We'll find out. But again, it's one of those things. We'll see what happens. I think that it's going to be like a third brand is a little too strong. It's almost like it's brand 2.5. Almost,
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's going to really depend on what the CW wants and what they're expecting. But again, as it's been discussed on this show, apparently, the CW's president is just happy that they have WWE product on their channel because of how hot the product is. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, again, 6 months from now, we'll know a hell of a lot more about what the landscape is going to be looking like for all three brands or 2.5 brands. But hey, that is going to take us back into our show tonight. The next match on the card, the Beach Brawl, a no DQ match between Blair Davenport and Sol Ruca. This was a lot of fun. I said this over on the Pro Wrestling Hipster page as well, but like, goofy concept, very like Miracle on 34th Street fight, trick or treat fight. This is something WWE likes to do. They're kind of hokey version or more friendly version of a hardcore match. But yeah, so goofy concept, but man, great execution. Like I actually thought you got some good, stiff, hardcore wrestling violence out of this. Sans blood, of course. It's NXT. It's just it is what it is there. But yeah, it was goofy concept, but great execution. I had so much fun during this match. It was hard hitting. Everybody looked good. And Sol Ruca, the right person getting the win here. 10 minutes, 31 seconds via the Snow Snatcher on a boogie board, which I can say a boogie board's not going to add any impact to a move, but it looked cool.
Oh, yeah. Like, even just the finisher itself, Sol Ruca has, in my opinion, the best looking finisher in the company right now, hands down. And yeah, this was a very fun match. Like, I had written down in my notes, fun chaos. Like, that was, I think, what the goal was, and they nailed it. Do you think this closes the chapter on Blair Davenport and Sol Ruca's feud, or do you think there's still more to happen yet?
I think this closes the chapter on their feud. The only way I see them crossing paths again in the near future would be if there's some sort of tournament situation for the North American Women's title. And I could see them maybe crossing through the bracket there, which again, talking about that title. CJ, I think I already know the answer here, but how would you feel with Sol Ruca being the inaugural NXT North American champion?
You know, it's actually going to kill me to say this, but I think the first half of this match felt off. You know, like, I didn't know if it was just a compatibility thing with Davenport and Sol Ruca, but the back half of this match was a lot better than the first half, and I don't know that it was consistent enough that if I was booking, I don't think I would feel confident putting the title on Sol Ruca. Blair Davenport, on the other hand, which, like, kind of like when you talk nice things about Baron Corbin, talking badly about Sol Ruca, or not even badly, but just like constructive criticism, it doesn't feel right. Like, it feels like my body's like, stop what you're doing. But I think Blair Davenport has a real good shot at being the first North American Women's Champion.
I think so too.
You know, she's built that reputation up for herself, and I think if they really wanted to give her that pedestal, I think she'd do well with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think she would do well wearing that crown. And CJ, I understand what you mean. There are certain, like, I'm that way with Roxanne Perez. I have a difficult time criticizing her in any way, shape, or form. Even
but at the same time, like,
work.
Yeah, like, I think the idea that NXT even exists as a TV show is fantastic, because it gives them the opportunity for just to be able to get some TV time, but also to show that the developmental system works, and Sol Ruca is only going to get better. Like, I do see her as a future North American champion, but if it was based on this match, I would say no.
Okay, all right, fair enough. All right,
I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Don't hate me. Don't hate me. I'm sorry.
It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be all right, Siege. It's gonna be all right, man. But we had a TikTok video of Metaphor road tripping to where they're at every week in Florida, but their car broke down, and it was just it was a way to get the Metaphor on TV this week. Is really, like, they had them hosting Stand and Deliver. I feel like it would have made more sense to have them doing that kind of hosting job for something like Spring Breakin'. Like, their characters and the flashy and the colorfulness, like, it fits this kind of theme more, where it's like, yes, it's a PLE light show, but you can be a little more tongue in cheek. But yeah, so this was kind of the way to get them on the show, I feel.
Who are these TikTok segments really for? Like, I know they're just trying to appeal to the younger demographic, but who the fuck? like,
not me.
am I just too old? Am I out of touch? Is that the problem here?
No, surely it's the children that are wrong. When it comes to
Thank
TikTok,
you. I appreciate the good Simpsons reference.
Yeah. But when it comes to TikTok, it is the children that are wrong. I don't know. Like it was. I loved how much Booker T hated it. That was kind of great. Like I got a kick out of that because like he just seemed disgusted with the whole thing. It was like it was a 10-minute road trip, which they did acknowledge that, but so I did like that aspect.
Yeah, we got a lot done in the last 10 minutes. Like, no, that's dumb.
I'm not on TikTok. Look, TikTok is a Kesha song. All right, that's what TikTok is.
And I mean, if they don't divest in a year, it's not going to be legal to have on your phone in the U.S. anyways. So maybe we don't have to worry about it for too much longer.
Breaking news: #wrestling with politics, folks. But moving back to NXT, the last match that we will be discussing tonight, the penultimate main event this evening. We had Baron Corbin. God, it's getting late here. Baron Corbin taking on Lexis King, which is set up earlier tonight. King picks up the win here in just about 5.5 minutes after hitting the coronation. CJ, what'd you think? About the match in general, what this means for the direction of King moving forward, the direction for Corbin moving forward.
Well, I mean, as far as whether they're going to stay on NXT or not, that certainly feels like the impression that Corbin gave tonight. Like he's not expecting to go anywhere. Lexis King, I don't see going anywhere. He's still very new and would really benefit from staying in NXT. But I just hope it's something meaningful. Like both of these guys deserve to have some kind of positive momentum. Baron Corbin has done so much good in the last however months he's been working with Braun Breaker, and Lexis King never should have been in that rivalry with Von Wagner to begin with. Mm-hmm. He should have been on to, especially with the way they positioned him in the breakout tournament. It felt like they had bigger plans for him, and I don't know if those plans just didn't pan out or if they changed, but hopefully they get him on a better track in the near future, especially with the move to CW. I think he would be one of the people that you could build the brand around if you play your cards right.
Yeah, well, he's got a lot of just raw charisma and a character that has a very flashy and television-friendly display, and I think that I think that he's going to be one that's going to be very eye-catching. I think he's someone that, and again, still green, still has a long way to go, has a lot to learn, obviously, but as just going from a character presentation standpoint, that's someone that an executive will look at and be like, I want this guy on our TV show. He looks like a rock star. I want this guy on our TV show. He looks like a Gen Z rock star. I want this guy on our TV show. And, again, that's an executive that doesn't know a lot about wrestling, wouldn't necessarily know that he has, some miles to go to be, a main event superstar caliber wrestler. But no, I think he's got a bright future. And I agree. The Wagner feud was not the place for him. I don't know. I feel like they kind of hit a bump with him and they didn't quite know what direction to point him in, and his wheels just got stuck in the mud for a little bit. But I think this is hopefully a being righted into the right direction here. And again, a win over Corbin makes him look good. Like beating Baron Corbin elevated someone tonight. I'm going to say it again.
Albeit underhanded win.
But still, I mean, it's cheating, which that protects Corbin too. But again, April 23rd, 2024, beating Baron Corbin mattered to someone. Lexis King came out slightly higher.
Is that going to be the April 1st, 2023 of pro wrestling hipster lineage history, or?
Yeah, April 23rd, 2024, the night that beating Baron Corbin held significance. And that happened. So good for Baron. I mean, coming off of being a tag champion, people fucking care about Baron Corbin. People were mad that Lexis King. People were mad. Oh my God. People were mad that Baron Corbin lost a wrestling match in 2024. If that is not reason enough to give Shawn Michaels Booker of the Year, that's it. That's you only need one fucking reason. You made Baron Corbin a star, Shawn. Good job. Good job. No one else could do that.
Not even JBL could do that.
Nope. And God, he tried. He really tried. And just gave up in spectacular fashion. Like, whew. That's the danger that you run.
I did have to laugh at commentary tonight. Like, during this match in particular, I think maybe also the main event, like, it just felt like Vic Joseph was sick of Booker T's shit and just not taking it away. Like, I can't remember what match it was, but, like, they spent a solid, like, 20 seconds arguing about nothing because Vic agreed with the point that Booker made, and Booker was trying to argue with him about it.
And he was saying, like, I agree with you. Yeah, they were. It sounded like, but I thought that Vic Joseph was just about to stab Book with a pencil. I really did. Like, it was this close.
Yeah. I think it was if he didn't say, like, here, have some of my candy. I think that might have actually been what happened. But there was one point in the aftermath of Corbin versus King where he's arguing with Booker on commentary, and he just flat out says he kicked him in the Richard. Like, this man deserves such a much better commentary partner than Booker T can give him. I love Booker T as a wrestler, but just as a commentator, he just grinds my gears so much. And I would love to see Vic Joseph, even with Wade Barrett, but if he has a better partner to bounce off of, he's only going to get even better.
I agree with that. And again, I say on the Raw Rewind a lot, I complain about Pat McAfee a ton. I still think that Pat in general is worse than Booker right now as like a collar guy, but like Book, man, like he hits me every once in a while, or usually about once or twice a week. He'll say something. I just have to like do like a double take with my ears. I'm like, what just came out of your mouth, Book? Because it's either nonsense. It's like nothing to do with what's being discussed, which even Jim Ross is guilty of that. But I think for him, it's more of an age thing than anything else, where it's just like they're talking about, a reverse Hurricane Rana, and, JR's complaining about how Diet Coke tastes different than Coke Zero. So it's just like, it's completely, but Book, I said when Book goes off the rails, I just expect it. And there's something kind of charming about it. But like, there was okay. It's past tense.
I used to endear Booker on commentary, but just it feels like he was a better commentator on SmackDown than he has been in NXT. I don't know if that's because it's been fucking 15 years or something. Oh yeah, that's true too.
Yeah. Sorry, typically when I tap in my ear, you think I can't hear you. I was just saying, like, he needs someone in his ear.
No,
I think like we talk about, like, some folks are like, God, Michael Cole is on a different level of existence without having someone bark at him. He doesn't need that. But some folks, it's sometimes it's not about being told what to say. It's about being told what not to say. They say that sometimes, the true show of being clever in comedy is when knowing not to make the joke, when not to go for the certain laugh. Booker needs someone to tell him no, like tamp it down, like stop yelling between every beat of Trick Williams' theme. Like, but yeah,
he's busy thinking up what CM Punk drama he's gonna cook up next.
Exactly. That's what's going on. But Book, he's fun a lot of times. But yeah, I would like to see Vic Joseph get to work with someone else because I think it would help Vic Joseph grow. I think there's only so far he's going to be able to come as a play-by-play announcer working with Booker T. And again, NXT is developmental, and Booker is the veteran that is the commentary gatekeeper. And I think eventually Vic will be moved off and someone else will take his place and Book will hang out with them. But yeah, I think Vic Joseph is good. I think he's really coming along well. I enjoyed hearing him get really irritated with Booker T tonight. It was just fun to hear him get flustered. It took me back to Michael Cole arguing with JBL. There'd be those times where you could just tell, or even how JR and King. There were moments where it's like, fuck, like you guys do like each other, right? Because right now it sounds like you're really wanting to hurt one another.
I mean, even if you want to go as far back as Heenan and Gorilla, like those guys had some amazing chemistry, but when Heenan went off the rails and Monsoon had to, oh, will you stop? Like that's I love that kind of banter. It has a time and place, but it just feels like we're going back to that a lot with Booker T and Vic Joseph.
And again, hey, maybe they're starting to tire of one another. Maybe Vic's favorite weeks there were when he had a different host in that chair with him there. But hey, again,
he's gonna call Booker T, or he's gonna call Batista down to Florida to get some tips on knocking Booker out backstage.
Oh man, Jesus, exactly. Good callback. But and again, though,
2007 was a wild time, man.
It was crazy. But again, they're talking about like Booker and presentation and perception. CW, Booker T is a name that people remember from the Attitude Era. So again, like that's another thing that's something we got to consider. Like some of the roles that these people are slotted into, it's not 100% TKO, WWE, NXT, whatever. It's not 100% them making that decision. Sometimes it is influenced from the network. Hell, that's why Raw has been 3 hours for as many years as it has been 3 hours. That is USA. USA wanted to do that, not WWE. I'm sure that they enjoyed the ad revenue and the extra contract money they got off of it. But that was USA's directive. That wasn't WWE. So networks do play a role in that. We saw what a network can do to a wrestling company and what happened with WCW. But I would think that anyone in a wrestling company would point to that to an executive and be like, hey, this is what happens when a lot of people that don't know what they're talking about make changes. But still, they have influence, obviously, because it's their fucking money.
Do we think we're going to see, obviously we're still fairly early transition in TNA's world, but I mean, Scott D'Amore basically lost his job for similar sort of network parent company shenanigans. So do you think we're going to see that kind of play out? And is that going to be enough of a warning that, hey, don't even AEW, Warner, their deal, or WWE and Netflix, is that going to be enough of a warning to these other streaming platforms and broadcast companies to say, hey, we know what we're doing, just leave us the fuck alone?
I think the situation with WWE is a little bit different. And with D'Amore, with his departure, that's something that's going to be viewed as incredibly foolish on the part of TNA management. I think, we're talking 10, 15 years from now, that's going to be one of those things in wrestling you look at where it's like, this was something that they did that was incredibly misguided and royally just shot themselves in the foot with this. That being said, TNA was definitely on the upswing, and that's what makes that decision even more foolish, because you can look at the numbers that they were improving steadily, and they're still like, no, you're asking for too much money, you're gone. With Netflix, CW, USA, they're looking at WWE as having just been a juggernaut the last couple of years, just, doing record box office, record, PLE viewership. So I think with that, they're not going to want to rock that boat, because I think the networks are looking at WWE as like, you're doing it right. Clearly, you're doing it right. Who are we to tell you what to do? We just want a cut of this. We want in on this. We want to make money from it. So I think that they, for the most part, more for that reason, won't rock the boat too much than from like learning less from Scott D'Amore. But still interested to see where Scott ends up, because he could be a big difference maker landing somewhere. So
oh yeah, anywhere he goes, he's gonna make anybody look like $1 million, hands down.
Yeah, well, and again, it's not, they don't necessarily need him as a creative force, but WWE would look a lot more appealing to TNA talent if Scott landed there, and I think that's
Very
something
true.
that WWE's going to want to be looking at in the future, is rekindling and getting those good relationships with the smaller brands.
Josh Alexander versus Chad Gable, I would offer like human sacrifice to watch that match.
You heard it here, live on the air, folks.
Oh shit! Right, we're live. I shouldn't say that.
CJ condones bloodletting for great wrestling. That's it. That's all Mox is doing with the blading. That's all he's doing. It's just all ancient blood magic. That's it. That's it. Good. That's gonna be some unscrupulous sheet is gonna run with that now. We're gonna see that tomorrow morning. John Moxley blood rituals. It's gonna be tomorrow morning all over. I'm like, hey, wait a minute, that's a rumor that
shout out Kayfabe News. They probably already got the draft started.
Oh God, if they do, please just credit us, Kayfabe News. That'd be fantastic. I'd love
even
that.
Just like not even full credit, just a shout out.
It is broken on Dirt Sheet Radio. Yeah. But hey, let's transition here, CJ. Let's pop into our jobber of the night today. CJ, who do you have as your jobber of the night?
I struggled.
I struggled.
Exactly. Like every match, both competitors or all competitors looked really well coming out of their matches, even in loss. So as far as the standard definition of a jobber goes, I don't think I can give it to a competitor that actually competed tonight. So I'm going to give it to Metaphor.
Okay.
Because you can't make a 10-minute drive to work without chaos erupting on one of the biggest event shows of your brand. Like, get better. Like, you could have had... you don't have a backup car? There's 4 of you. You're telling me there's one car between all 4 of you? No, you have backups for your backups. Get to the show on time. Call time is not a recommendation, and so for that, you're my jobbers of the night.
Oh my God, they can't make the town. You got to make towns, guys. Come on. This is why they need to start doing NXT spot shows. And they start running like armories and gyms and stuff. Like, you got to learn. You got to make these towns. You got punctuality is important. All right. If you're 20 minutes
I feel like
early,
they don't.
You're 40 minutes late. I
feel like they don't run gyms anymore because of Finn Balor going through the roof of one.
Yeah, that. And I've been to some indie shows where I've seen some stuff like that happen. There's been a couple times where it's like I personally wanted to get up and tighten the ring ropes because it's like someone's going to get hurt. Like I got a wrench in the truck. Just let me just a little bit. You're making me nervous, guys. I'm pretty sure you just wrapped electrical tape around a garden hose. That's not a ring rope.
Nope. But hey, if it's all you got on the day, then that's no. Don't try this at home, and do it safely if you do.
Yeah, exactly. But I understand Metaphor. Good choice there. Yeah, I really
good choice, really.
Well, I mean,
I was scraping bottom of the barrel.
I mean, it's better than mine because mine's more of like a feeling. Mine is I couldn't think to give it to anyone that wrestled tonight. Again, I think that everyone looked superb in the ring tonight. I think that everyone went into their match and came out of it either at the same level or better. No one was hurt I don't mean just physically in a Ridge Holland sense. I mean like in terms of their character. And I thought everyone looked good. I think the right people won their matches tonight across the board. And so I was going to say, like, a little bit for the audience because we're losing Ilja Dragunov. He's going to be gone. That's it. Like, that
Mm-hmm.
draft is Friday night, y'all, which will be covered wonderfully and explicably by CJ here, of course, with Sam.
Night 2 of the draft, of course, on Monday Night Raw will be helmed by the phenomenal pro wrestling hipster over here.
See, that's called the rub, folks. That's how that works.
Shameless plugs.
That's how a match should work too. Everyone's elevated now, guys. That's how that works.
Yeah.
But I would say that's the closest thing I got. Like, it's just sad that we on Tuesday nights will not be talking about what Ilja Dragunov's doing. It'll be either on Monday night or Friday night. That's the best I could do. But hey, let's pop into our megastar of the night. And
who was your jobber of the night?
Just the feeling that I'm getting from not being able to have Ilja Dragunov.
Okay, fair enough.
It's the viewers that our feelings have jobbed out to that. But megastar of the night, again, this was kind of difficult as well because a lot of people looked great. But I feel like this goes without saying. It was his night.
Mm-hmm.
It's Trick Williams. It was his night. He is, the man. He is on the top of the mountain, and I'm really excited to see this first promo next week with him as champion. I rarely go into promos with really high expectations, but I have high expectations of this. Like, this is just the culmination of so much emotion, such a big title change, and I loved it. And again, we've said this a lot about Trick over the last few months, especially, but the man's golden. Like, he looks great. He's phenomenal in the ring. His mic skills are great. He's not main roster ready. He could do it. It'd be premature. There's things that he still needs to click into place, but holy hell, he is on his way there, and he's blazing a path. And sky's the limit with him. So Trick NXT champion, Trick Williams, megastar of the night. CJ. What you got?
Yeah, solid pick. I would go with Trick Williams as well. I mean, it's like you said, it's his night. This was his defining moment. It was the culmination of his feud with Dragunov, and it feels like he's not slowing down. He's gonna carry that title into this new era and do it justice. But my megastar of the night is split because I also have to give Roxanne Perez her flowers. She looks like such a tremendous heel champion coming out of this match just by proxy of stealing the win right out from under Tatum Paxley. This character that she's been developing is getting better every single week. And, I look forward to seeing what she does next. So both the top men's and women's champions on NXT are my megastars of the night.
Yeah, fantastic. And, with Roxy, like, I'm excited that she retained the NXT Women's Championship for a couple reasons. One, I genuinely, that's the hipster mark bias. Like, I like to see her win matches because I like Roxanne Perez. But also, it's because it means that she's probably going to stick around on NXT for a while longer. And I'm glad for that. I think that there's a lot more that they can get out of her in NXT before she goes to the main roster. And she's young. She's got plenty of time. It's not like you got to rush her up to the main roster. She's not LA Knight's age. Like, you don't have to strike right now. Like, she's got plenty of time to develop, and I'd like to see her continue to develop this heel persona. Like you said, CJ, she's getting better every week. The interviews are incrementally getting better on the heel side for her, but her heel in-ring work is great. Like,
oh yeah,
that's where it's really shining. Like, if her promos can catch up to what she's doing in the ring, the story that she tells in the ring with her heel work, she'll be golden, and she'll be able to play both sides of that coin beautifully.
And she has gotten better at promos too, especially like within the last month or so. So I think there is definitely potential for her to come into her own even further.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, hey, that is NXT in a nutshell. CJ, before we get into the plugs and whatnot tonight, was there anything else on tonight's show that you wanted to touch on?
Not so much tonight's show, but do we want to do some NXT draft predictions? Because I know we've had a couple comments showing up about if we think NXT stars are going to go to one brand or the other. But I think there's a lot of potential for main roster stars to come down to NXT, especially if they're hyping this NXT involvement. You know, like, is it actually going to be as big as we think it is?
I think we should have cautious expectations for it. We're really going to find out. NXT doesn't have a night that's dedicated for them getting a draft. It's going to be all done on Raw and SmackDown, and I assume that they'll do some of it online. They've done that in years past, where they end up just announcing
like
kind
the
of
supplemental draft picks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I haven't given a lot of thought to whom I think would potentially go down to NXT. I've given way more thought to who I think would go up. To touch on one of the questions there, like Melo's on the main roster.
Mm-hmm.
Melo's been called up. He's a SmackDown wrestler at this point. Like CJ, you cover SmackDown. I mean, they have short of have they ever shown him actually signing a contract? I know they showed Braun signing a contract.
No, but they definitely insinuated that it was a permanent call-up when he was in the U.S. title tournament, and then his matches with Austin Theory afterwards. But we haven't seen him since he turned on Trick Williams. So I don't know if they're just waiting to do something with him after the draft. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, as far as I know, he was officially SmackDown.
Okay.
And that's one thing that I hope they avoid with the draft is just retreading this water of like calling up superstars that are already on the brand. Like, they would still have to call up Dragunov because he was still in NXT, but they made the decision to call up Carmelo Hayes before WrestleMania. So I hope they adhere to that and don't just waste a draft pick for SmackDown on Carmelo Hayes because he's already there.
Right. Yeah, that would be a little nonsensical. I get Dragunov, speaking of which, he's one that I think was Raw bound. This one just based off of the tease with Damian Priest. Talking about going down there, I could see Natty being drafted to NXT, which I actually would kind of like. I think Natty's a phenomenal in-ring performer, and I think she has a lot that she could, teach this younger crop of talent. And I think that, just running on the road with Natty is good for any wrestler, man or woman, honestly. Like, she's just very, very good at it. And I think that her time as a main event player has probably just kind of passed, unfortunately. She's a great hand, and then she's someone that they know. It's like, hey, we need a women's main event on Raw, SmackDown, NXT, anywhere. You can plug Natty in, and it's believable. People buy Natty; they believe in Natty. But I could see her being down there, and she's someone that I wouldn't mind seeing down in NXT.
She got a hell of a reaction tonight too.
And she's one of those main roster wrestlers that does get that big of a reaction when she goes down there. And every time she pops in. And part of it, I think that she's always going to have that heart cachet there. You hear the opening chords of her theme. And, for, I think, fans of a certain age, especially, like, you're immediately plopped back into 1995, hearing Bret Hart, or, going a little, a couple years later, the Hart Foundation, so I think that's part of that. But I could see her landing down there.
And I mean, that would be a great pick for NXT too, even just based on the reception that she got tonight. Again, like, I think the NXT crowd would appreciate having her there. I think the talent would appreciate having her there. I think this would be a good opportunity for the New Day to have a better NXT run. For the same reason, they are tried and tested main event level stars, and it would benefit the talent more to have that feud with them. It felt when they were down in NXT the first time, like the whole point was just to get the titles on them just to say they did it. But I think if they made a solid attempt to integrate into the NXT roster, then it would be something new that is different from the main roster presentation of the New Day. Like, I think that's what the biggest allure for NXT is for a lot of the main roster talent, is just to redevelop themselves. Right. It worked well for Baron Corbin. It worked a little bit for Apollo Crews. You know, like, it was enough to get rid of the Nigerian prince. Dijak. My God, Dijak. Yep. I want to see him on the main roster. He would kill on Monday Night Raw. Guaranteed.
And then you talk about someone that would be drafted potentially off of NXT. I think Dijak's actually on that list. I don't think that calling the fans Dijaculators is going to catch on.
I laughed so hard when I heard that the first time.
It's right up there with registered Lex offenders. It's just not good.
I like Oba feminists though. Like that's a good
Oba feminists I'm good with. That's good. We're all Oba feminists here at DSR. But that's I can see him being drafted off. You know, they did at the top of the show really again discuss how good the women's roster in NXT is. So I mean, that could be a little more of their draft focus. You know, they've already
getting the women's division spread across Raw and SmackDown.
Well, no, I mean just pumping up NXT's more. It's kind of like that could be part of NXT's hook. That's where you're going to go to see the best in women's wrestling. I could see them maybe moving a couple bigger names back down there. Not Becky Lynch.
No. How does that feel to the women's wrestlers though? Because they go from the audience sizes of Raw and SmackDown, the ratings difference between the two shows. How did they do that without it feeling like a slap across the face to say, yeah, we're going to send you down to NXT and you're going to perform in a warehouse every single week?
I don't know. That's how I feel about any wrestler being told they're going to NXT.
But at the same time, like, we talk about how amazing the NXT experience has been for main roster stars and even just the up and comers. Like, we're talking about Oba Femi as a serious player. Like, he is just one example of what the NXT system can do. So it's just a matter of really if they're going to actually make it a third brand or not.
Right. And again, it's just there's so many cards left to be dealt on this. We just there are so many things we just don't know. I mean, and again, they are. I mean, at this point, they are. And, you know, I saw a question pop up earlier about whether or not they should change the name. Even if I thought NXT should change the name, I would say don't change the name. You know, even if you're going to try to put them on it has cachet. It has it has, you know, a history behind it at this point. Luckily for most
so
folks,
did ECW.
That's true. Yeah.
I'm just saying, there's precedent.
And you know what? Like, you know, NXT has made it back from the very colorful 2.0 era. You know, they've kind of come full circle. Maybe ECW could have done that too, given enough time. Would have lost the incredibly hokiness of it.
With an actual, you know, like with people actually caring about how the promotion is handled, then yeah, maybe it could have.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's why we're NXT is they care about it now. It's not just their, like, you know, hey, we have a contract, we're filling it out. No, it's not like we're just running out of contract. It's we have a new contract for this brand, and we're going to continue to keep it on fire. And so they're going to do what's going to be healthiest for it. And I think that it's going to be viewed as a bigger deal. Again, I don't think there's a lot that they could do to actually put NXT on the same perceived level as Raw and SmackDown. Hell, I don't think there's anything that you can really do at this point to put Raw and SmackDown on the same perceived level. There are preconceived notions about what the shows are, which shows the flagship. Even, with when the Bloodline was running everything and SmackDown was doing, record numbers, Raw's still the A show. Yeah, the main title's on SmackDown, but that's not the main show. Raw's the flagship. It's been that way forever, and it will probably always be regarded that way. But still, there's nothing you can do to get NXT on that level, but you can make it look great. NXT can be things that the main roster isn't. And NXT has been that. There were so many years with those takeovers where it'd be like, well, hell, we're watching takeover because that's where the good wrestling is going to be. And
WrestleMania 32, I think, was the first major pay-per-view that their takeover at the time. There will never be wrestling everyone agrees with because it's just impossible. But no, I think this has been a conversation that's been had for a long time. So if they do want to bolster that and continue to grow the brand, I'm all for it. I know I'm sure I can speak for you and Matthew Malik Wilson, who shout out to him and his success in the MLB world that's kept him from us for another week. But hopefully we get him back next week.
Yeah.
But I think, future's bright for the Black and Gold brand, and it's just a matter of seeing where the chips fall after the draft.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I know, I feel like that's something that folks hear us say. I know I say it a lot. Future will tell us. We'll see what happens. I'm excited. I'm optimistic for what the future holds regardless. And that's really nice to be able to say, because I can't remember the last time I've said that about wrestling in general, where I feel optimistic about the business and the direction. And that's, hey, I can't complain. As a fan, I can't complain. But
exactly.
We're in for another great night of NXT wrestling next week with night 2 of Spring Breakin', which I appreciate that it is IN with an apostrophe. Gotta love that, breaking. It's not spring breaking, it's spring breaking.
And it's also not spring break -in, because that's felony.
Yes, exactly. You don't want that. That's not good.
No. NXT break and enter.
no, that's not good. Especially in the state of Florida. Break and enter. They're harsh with their punishments down there. Can't wait for Ricky Starks. Hey, it's always possible. And with that FCC ruling today about non-compete clauses not being legally valid, that's going to make the world of professional wrestling a lot more interesting going forward. Provided
Trevor
that
is all elite this Wednesday.
Exactly. But hey, CJ, anything else that you want to touch on this evening, or shall we hit our end of show plugs here?
Yeah, I'm pretty much all NXT out for the night. I'm looking forward to the draft kicking off this Friday. Looking forward to getting to talk about it afterwards. But that plug will come after all the other plugs we've got coming.
So we'll start at comicbookclick.com. They are our partner in this pop culture tag team that we've entered into with them. Constant updates going on there. Live updates for shows. If you're not able to watch live, John is busting his ass to do all of these live updates during the shows, churning out content, just working his fingers to the bone on the keyboard. So, hey, make it your homepage. Check it out every morning. Check it out every afternoon. Go there multiple times. Wrestling news is nonstop. So you're going to see update after update after update after update on there. After burger, it's constant. It's nonstop. John's kicking ass with it. So comicbookclick.com. Check out their content, all the pop culture news, all the comic book news. Major Issues podcast every Thursday night. John is on there. I will say I'm not sure what subject they are covering this week, but it is a phenomenally fun show, especially if you're into comic books. And if you're not that into comic books, it's going to make you more into comic books. Very informative, easy to listen to. It's not one of those things where you have to know, 900 years of history of literature to keep up with them. It's a good crew, and they always have a good time. All right. Also, Delphin Pod, the original home. That's for all of your podcast needs over there. And Dirt Sheet Radio is the delicious nougaty pro wrestling center there as the flagship pro wrestling podcast over Delphin Pod. And also for all of the aficionados who love the scents and love the aromatherapy, we have monk.com and we have a promo with them, DSR10. Go there to get a discount on all the delicious smelling things. You can make a house in the Midwest of the United States smell like the beach in the Bahamas. Hey, if JBL had monk.com, he might not have ever moved there. He'd still be living stateside. But those are the ads and plugs for us. CJ, tell the folks at home where they can find you next and where they can find you in general.
Well, CJ Carter here as always at CJ Carter 22 on Twitter. I'm here every Tuesday rewinding NXT, every Friday rewinding SmackDown. I'm very much looking forward to covering the draft, but that's this Friday. And then night one of the draft is this Friday. So whatever shakes from there, I look forward to talking about it.
And I am always, as the Pro Wrestling Hipster, Tyler, Pro Wrestling Hipster over on Facebook. And hey, you can find me every Tuesday night here with CJ and usually Matthew breaking down NXT, always having a good time. And also Monday nights breaking down Raw with Caesar. And like CJ said, night one of the draft is going to be on SmackDown. Night two will be on Raw. So between those two shows, we'll have all the coverage here for you. And looking forward to that. Always a good time. And hey, as I like to say every single show we do, we appreciate you tuning in, and we appreciate you tuning in 5 nights a week because we do this Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night. We do it for PLEs on the weekends. Sorry, Collision. We just haven't been able to work in the schedule yet. It's rough. There's a lot of wrestling to cover every week, but we appreciate y'all tuning in live every single night of the week. We'll see you guys next week. We appreciate you guys. Have a wonderful evening, everybody.
Hell yeah.